Andy, today we've got Ricky Veale, estate agent from the Stevenage area, coming to see us.
I think that prices are going to stabilise. I do honestly think that. And potentially next year, then look to kick on. The amount of development is clearly going to continue to keep the market moving. I will always say it. People have reasons to move, whether they need to upsize, whether they need to downsize, whether they're moving for schools, whether they're moving for work reasons. People need to move, and it's all relative. If prices are going up, then you'll sell high, buy high. If they're going down, you're going to sell low and buy low.
We're going blind today because between us, we've visited Stevenage twice.
Yeah.
And it was both me. So we're going to learn something today about what is going on in Stevenage, whether you should buy, whether you should avoid. What questions are you going to ask? What do you want to know from Ricky about the area?
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to this one because Stevenage, I've heard of it, never stepped foot in Stevenage. So what I want to know from Ricky is what it's all about. You know, what type of area is it? What's going on in the area with developments, you know, and sort of what is the prime property to invest in, really. So yeah, really keen to hear what Ricky's gonna tell me on Stevenage.
Yeah, is it an investable town? Is it somewhere where the ships sailed?
Yeah.
Is it an undiscovered gem? Because around there you've got St Albans, which is just a phenomenal town, but very unaffordable to the vast majority, particularly on a buy-to-let perspective. And the other end of the scale, you've got Luton, which is super cheap. So you've got the full scale within a sort of 10, 20 mile radius of this place. But you're also really, really close to London, where you've obviously run agents in London and seen what people pay compared to what people will do on the commute. So without further ado, Ricky Veale, estate agent of over a decade. Let's bring him in.
Let's do it.
Ricky, thanks for joining us in the studio. Thanks for making the drive around the M25 this morning.
Thanks for having me.
You're at the mercy of the traffic in that sense, and I understand it was a good one today, so hopefully it gives you a favour on the way home as well. We're here to talk about Stevenage today, your hometown.
It certainly is.
So, you've been an estate agent and letting agent in that town for how long?
Best part of 11 to 12 years now.
Schooled, brought up, stood on the terraces of the borough, I understand.
Of course. Yeah, the mighty Stevenage borough.
So you're well versed in all parts of the town, where things are happening and what's going on.
Yeah, no, very much so. I feel very much so a part of the community.
Okay, so it's a bit of a strange podcast for Andy and I. I've been to Stevenage twice now, and it was only to see you.
I haven't stepped foot in Stevenage.
Have you heard of it?
So I've heard of it, but yeah, I haven't stepped foot there. So I'm excited to know.
So this
more.
This is a course for us.
It is,
and it's a great one because normally we know a lot about the towns that people come in to talk about, but this is a real course for us on why invest in Stevenage, what to invest in Stevenage, what are we looking at. My instant reaction when I drove into Stevenage a couple of months ago, being from the Bracknell area, is I'm back in Bracknell. I know what's going on here. If I feel at home, it looks the same. So give us a brief history of the town, why it's there, what it's about.
So it's one of the first new towns coming out to London. So you're on Junction 7 or Junction 8. You're not too far from Luton, so you're 15-20 minutes to Luton Airport. You're surrounding by the likes of Hitchin, Nebworth, Welwyn Garden City. There's some very nice areas surrounding it. You've got some huge businesses that have joined the area over the past 25 years. Mass developments that have gone up in the past 10, 15 years. In an area that I used to live in, and an area that we got a lot of properties on the market, is an area called Great Ashby, which is a mini town within the town. And that had 10,000 plus properties built with local school, shops, etc., etc. No, it's a great place to live and one that I love.
So you're already seeing the comparisons between a Bracknell and a Stevenage in the new town history. Bracknell was built to take the people of West London after the war. Stevenage built to take the people of North London from the war, and a lot of employers strategically moved in order to fire those towns' economies. They've now matured. So what employers are in Stevenage? Where do people work? If you live in Stevenage, where are people commuting to? What's the likely income of those people?
So you've got MBDA, which are a huge outfit, just coming off the A1. And then you've got Airbus Aerospace, which again is just off the A1. And there's a lot of industrial estates. So you've got the big BMW, you've got the big Mini, you've got smaller outfits like a Stevenage Glass, etc., that if anyone's looking to get glass in Hertfordshire, that's their go-to place. There's loads of pockets of industrial estates where typically people will work, but if they are commuting, they are 22 minutes into Finsbury Park or within half hour into King's Cross. The A1 is so easy to get onto, whether you're at the top of Stevenage in Great Ashby or whether you're Oaks Cross, South kind of Stevenage. And you can be 25 minutes into St Albans, 10, 15 minutes into Hatfield. Obviously, you've got the university in Hatfield. There's a big pharmaceuticals company in Welwyn Garden City. It's called Roche. So there's some really big outfits out there.
Something that I noticed, like you said, driving up the A1 off the M25 when I visited, the other towns around Stevenage, if you take Luton out of the equation, I don't want to be someone who runs down Luton, but let's take Luton out of the equation.
It's probably a good decision.
The other towns seem a lot more expensive than Stevenage in
Very much so.
Welwyn Garden City. St Albans especially, driving in St Albans, you're like, wow, something's going on in this town. This is a very, very wealthy place to live, which is probably inaccessible to a vast majority of people, or sort of first, second time buyers is not the place to be looking. Otherwise you're in a very small flat. So is that right? Is my guess
Very
right?
so. Yeah, no, you are right. Hitchin's a mini St Albans. Welwyn Garden City is expensive. Nebworth is expensive too. Everyone that is living in those areas tend to come to Stevenage to go to your kitchen shops and your furniture shops because there's so many of them. But no, Stevenage is certainly more affordable, and we are finding so many. I originally moved out of Edgware, North London, when I was 7. So, God, I'm showing my age now, 23 years ago. And it's still so easy to get back into London. And when I first moved up, I'm massively into my football. And you can probably walk field to field, park to park, every 5 minutes. There are so many open green spaces for families to enjoy. So it is great for that. It certainly is more expensive. You've got the Old Town, which is very desirable, and you've got nice restaurants and bars and so on and so on. A lot like a St Albans High Street, but the New Town is very much so growing and has been for the last 5-10 years.
So with Stevenage then, so is it sort of a family area to live in, or do you get a lot of, professional people living there? What type of
both,
people
really.
do you get there?
Yeah, a bit of both. So a lot of the families do move because of the open green spaces and all of the schools in which it has to offer, as well as the activities it has. So you've got the leisure park, in which has got the trampoline park, it's got the cinema, it's got the bowling alley. A little further afield, you've got the mini golf. So there's a lot going on for kids. It's where, personally, I would admit that when you're of that 18 to 21 age gap, there's not bundles going on for kids of that age. But I know that when I was that age, it was all about playing Xbox and so forth anyway, and watching Arsenal.
Well, it took 6 minutes to get Arsenal into the conversation. Well done, Ricky. If anyone out there was playing Ricky Veale bingo, 6 minutes was the call before he's linked to that. He's from North London. He's come up from North London and he's back for the Arsenal. Just a small run-in that always gets mentioned reasonably quickly. Not sure it used to happen that quick, but Arsenal are top of the league. So let's going into. We know roughly who the people are. We know about the employers. What's the housing stock like? What do the houses look like? What's there most of? What's there's a shortage of, and what's being put up at the moment in Stevenage?
Definitely a shortage of bungalows. I'm crying for a developer to build 20, 30
thousand
bungalows. Yeah, because I really do think that will kick on the market. And I've said for years that I think the government could really do with helping out the pensioners and so forth looking to go into bungalows, that could really kick on the families to move into theirs, or et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So there's definitely a shortage of bungalows. There is a lot of 70s semis, a lot of houses that are back to front. So you park at the back and go through the back rather than walk around to go to the front. A lot of apartments that have gone up within the last couple of years in and around the town, 1 and 2 beds, typically stretching anywhere from 170 to 200 for 1 beds. And for the 2 beds, you're looking at 230, anywhere up to 270. They're letting really well, actually. So I'm sure we'll come on to that shortly. But in the respect of someone moving out of a Hatfield or a Welwyn Garden City as a first-time buyer, but commuting into central London, it's a 5-minute walk through the town into the station, and you're at your desk within half hour. It's a bit of a no-brainer for a first-time buyer, having the 15 to £20,000 deposit required to get on the ladder to potentially see that property in a year, 2 years, be worth 10% more in value.
So what does go well? What's the real heartbeat of the market? Where would you put your money?
I think Great Ashby is an excellent market, and one that's continued to grow. A big point of that is because of the outstanding primary school in Round Diamond. There's so many local farmers' fields that you can walk around, and Serpentine Park is a massive attraction for families, and you're still only a 5-minute drive to the Old Town and leisure facilities too. So Great Ashby for me is certainly an area where, although it's a new build area of the new build ilk, and a lot of people don't necessarily want to be on top of other families and not as much privacy and not as much parking, it's such a family orientated area, and one in which people really enjoy to live in.
So going back to the developments, so developments going up your 1 or 2 beds, what's the land space around Stevenage? Are more developments going to go up? Is there sort of the land there to put new developments on? Are they in one specific area, or are they sort of spread out around?
There's roughly, the exact figures I think is approximately 5 to 1,000 homes going up along Gresley Way, which is Chels Manor going towards Aston Walken Way. And that's a Red Road development. So they're going to be high-end, great finish, hopefully going to be ready in the next year or 2. I'm excited to see them. And I'm sure that a lot of the people that are in 2-3 beds are going to hopefully look to upsize to the 4 or 5 bed detached houses that they're offering. Taylor Wimpey are due to complete on a mix of apartments, semis, detached houses in Todd's Green, which is a little village just a little outgoing out to Hitchin Way. So the confidence I have in the area and the market of Stevenage is obviously being replicated in the developers' eyes as well. So that's what I'm incredibly confident in resale properties, because developers are investing their money into the area too.
I think that's one of the things that you've got to look at, that if you've got these developers going into places like that, then there must be something there that will attract people to that area. So it's good that the developments are sort of happening, and it's an up and coming sort of.
It's something we say on every podcast when we concentrate on an area, is look at which companies are putting money into whether that be Waitrose or IKEA or a house builder or Berkeley Homes, whoever it might be. M&S, exactly. Those companies, they don't do things by accident. They don't do things by guessing. They will produce thousands of hours worth of research of where the money's being spent, where the income increases are, where people are upwardly mobile, where more investments coming in from other places, and then make their call. A house builder particularly will not build somewhere where house prices are likely to go down. Exactly. It just won't happen, especially if it's a scheme of 1,000 houses, because that will be a 7 to 10 year scheme, I imagine. They're not going to go somewhere where they're seeing net population drops, they're seeing companies moving out of. It just won't happen. They wouldn't build it. So it's a really good tip for an investor, as we probably said it before, as Ricky said here. If Redrow are building 1,000 houses, and my guess is that those 1,000 houses are 10 to 20% above market rate that you would normally see in Stevenage.
New builds typically fetch a premium.
And how many big 4 and 5 bedroom detached houses are when Redrow are building them now? Is this breaking new land?
Yeah, the majority of that development is going to be big 4 or 5 bed detached houses, which is excellent for us with the market of 2 and 3 bed people are looking up to upsize.
As you said, the majority of housing stock in Stevenage tends to be 3 bed semis, and Redrow are going in and building 4 and 5 bed detached double garage houses. So they're not gambling on the fact that people are getting richer in Stevenage. They know that people are getting richer in Stevenage, or the people who want to move into Stevenage have more money because of the commuting links.
Exactly that. Yeah, exactly. And I forgot to mention Lister as well. Lister's been there for years, but the amount of doctors and nurses that are there also provides a great pool of excellent tenants for landlords.
Yeah. So landlords, obviously, this is the Landlord Page podcast. We've said obviously why money's going into the town, but if I'm giving you £100,000 cash to invest in a property, what are you investing in and why?
I'll be looking to buy a 2-bed semi, which can be converted to a 1 or 2 bedroom masonette. So standard front door at the front, and then look to use the French doors at the back, etc., to convert it to take the stairs upstairs to create a 1 or 2 bedroom masonette. There's not too many of those within Stevenage, and I've previously worked in the Watford market where there's been bundles of conversions created, but the majority of these 2 bedroom semi-detached houses typically have parking for 2 cars, so they're absolutely ideal for 1 bed masonettes. My next door neighbour, the property's been empty for the best part of 5 years now. And,
have you knocked through, Ricky?
I've got his number. Planning permission's been granted. It's a 4-bed terrace house that's been converted to 3 or 4 masonettes. So hopefully they will be my instructions within the next year or so. But they are prime. You've got, for the 1 bed, typically prices are anywhere, like I said, between 170 to 200, generating yields of 5-6% at £9 to £1,000. Something like that isn't going to have high service charge and high ground rents, because it doesn't have the lifts in the blocks and it doesn't have the gates and the concierge, etc., etc.
Yeah, I mean, you own the freehold, so you take away the issue, don't you, of what a modern apartment
is an excellent investment. Little 2-bed semi that you can convert into a masonette to get 2 1-bedroom apartments.
So what does a 2-bed semi sell for typically?
Typically anywhere between 230 and 250.
And where do you end up when you've done your conversion? What rental income are you taking from your 2 1-bedroom masonettes?
Well, hopefully you'll be able to split the garden into 2, so they've both got their private own garden space. I would say you're looking anywhere between £9 and £1,000 per 1-bedroom masonette.
So I mean that return, if you've got to be willing to do the work.
Yeah,
obviously it's it's not the easy option. how do you go about finding the right house design? Because I know I'm totally with you here. Where I live, there's a couple of estates where they built 2-bedroom houses, and if you buy the end terrace, you can double story extension it and turn it into a big 3-bed and make your money. That's where it works in my town, if you're willing to do the work. So this is your town's tip. This is very specific to Stevenage. Probably something you, like you say, a Watford, for example, down the road is probably Victorian houses that have been done. We're talking about ex-council, local authority stock here. How do you go about finding them? Does everybody know this trick in Stevenage?
No, not at all. No, not whatsoever. So long and short of it is get in touch with me. I'll try and source it for you. If it means that I need to send letters to homeowners as a buying service, I'll go and do so. I'll go and spot the properties on the road which I think are prime to be developed for buy-to-let investors.
I think that's it, isn't it? That you've got to have that local expert to give you that advice, because many people don't know this advice. They don't know the tricks to look out for, and they don't know what to put their money in. So you're right. You need that local expert, which is obviously yourself. So yeah, get in contact with Ricky, and yeah, I'm sure you'll be able to sort them out and help them with their investments. But yeah, going back to the rental side of things, I was having a look at some stuff earlier in Stevenage, and it was telling me that the sort of average rents across Stevenage is around sort of 1,250 to 1,300. So again, that's a great sort of average rent to have. There's a lot of 2-beds within the current stock on the market at the moment, so that seems to be the high sort of stock levels of rentals. And I think in total there was probably 70 or 80 properties currently on the market for rentals. So it seems a busy market on the rental side of things in Stevenage, which again, for investors, that's the telling tale of right, that must be a great investment area to get into. So yeah, everything looks sort of positive on the rental side of things and investment side of things in Stevenage. So yeah, it's good to hear what your sort of input about the area and the way that things are going, because with the house builders, the developers, everything going on there, like Mike said earlier, there's a reason why they're doing that, and the reason is, it's a great investment
and those
to go into.
70 odds, I would anticipate that 80% of them will be let in the next week or 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Because you've got so many people moving out of London, going to work at Lister, going to work at MBDA, Airbus, Roche, etc., etc. There's a lot of pool of tenants looking to buy, to rent, sorry. Whether that's they're looking to try before they buy with a partner, whether it's they've got a placement at one of these big firms. There's a lot of people out there wanting to rent.
Yeah,
it's interesting because we always talk about value, and it's hard to find value. It's 2023. It gets harder every year, whether you're a landlord or you're a tenant, to actually find value. And I think this is potentially a place, if you compare it to the M4 corridor where we're sitting, where it's faster into London than it is here, but house prices are lower, commuting times are faster, and rents hold up. That's a decent rental income. It's still affordable, which again, we try and find things that are affordable in 2023. Still affordable for a tenant because incomes are good, levels of education is high, levels of qualification is high. So it's a really good option. Leads me to my final question, where if Ian were in the room, he'd say, we're not going to hold you to this, but we are recording. Future predictions for Stevenage. Where do we go in 2023 and beyond?
I think that prices are going to stabilise. I do honestly think that. And potentially next year, then look to kick on. The amount of development is clearly going to continue to keep the market moving. I will always say it. People have reasons to move, whether they need to upsize, whether they need to downsize, whether they're moving for schools, whether they're moving for work reasons. People need to move, and it's all relative. If prices are going up, then you'll sell high, buy high. If they're going down, you're going to sell low and buy low.
Makes no difference. And you've mentioned something which just makes me want to dispel a myth that a lot of people have got, which I think is kind of peddled by the government that we have, is that building more houses will stabilise house prices. It's garbage. House builders will build houses to maximise the value of the land that they're building on. And therefore, if a house builder like your Red Row or your Taylor Wimpey come along and build 500 houses in your back garden, I have a guarantee for you, your house price will go up as a result. Not down, not flat. If a house builder is building 7, 8, 900,000 pound detached houses in your back garden and your house is worth £500,000, guess what? You're in for a 20% uplift over the next 2-3 years. It's going to happen. So if you see that, if you can see building happening over the back fence of where you're looking to invest in your 2-bed terrace, you're pretty much nailed on for an increase in value.
Very much so. Yeah, it's a better outlook rather than you're looking out on a derelict building or a derelict industrial estate, etc., etc. These new builds command higher prices and people want everything new. So yeah, it's automatically going to put your prices up of a second-hand property.
Yeah, it's a positive in my eyes. That's what I say about all developments, that take it as a positive if it's near you, because if those house prices are higher, then yours is going to be higher. Yours isn't going to be less. It's not going to be the same. It is only going to be higher because of the demand, the sort of price demands on these new builds and what they're going for. Of course, yours is going to be higher. So it's a positive, absolute positive.
So Ricky, thanks for coming in, fighting Stevenage's corner. How does everyone get hold of you?
On 07507837346 or I'm sure we'll put the email address.
Ricky's details are in the show notes. I thought I'd just wind him up there. Ricky's details will be in the show notes. If you've ever got any questions about the Hertfordshire as a whole, he's worked across Stevenage, St Albans, Welwyn Garden City and other areas. If you're looking at that as a potential, or if you've seen something that interests you and you want a second opinion on it, then just fire him a message and he'll be straight back in contact with you. But again, Ricky, thanks for joining us.
No, thank you very much.
Thank you, Ricky. So we have just finished with Ricky Veale, so your local property expert in Stevenage. And it's really great talking to him, really great sort of hearing about sort of the Stevenage area, what's sort of the hotspots in Stevenage, what's going on, what, to put your money into what type of investment. So one of the things that I took away from Ricky is hearing about sort of the developments that are going up in the area. You've got your big players like Red Row still building homes around that area, and that only means one thing, that they've spotted a market to make money. So yeah, it was really good to sort of hear about that, and sort of what type of area it is. So where it sits, near St Albans and other areas as well, and getting into London and the type of sort of people that are moving to that area. So I've definitely taken away that it's definitely an investment opportunity place, with sort of median rents at around sort of £1,300 a month, and looking at the property prices as well, there's some definitely bargains to have to make good that investments if you're a landlord or investor. So yeah, it was good to hear that. Mike, what did you take away from Ricky's?
I mean, frankly, I'm off to get on Rightmove to see if I can find a 2-bed semi for £230 that I can put £70,000 into and get £2,000 a month rent from 2 individual tenants.
Yeah,
that seems too good to be true.
It does
to me, being where I'm from. So that's a hot tip from my point of view, that if you're willing to split a property up into two maisonettes, and the council are happy with that kind of development because the off-street parking's fine and everything works out, then I want to go and have a look at one.
Absolutely. Okay, well, look, if you want to hear more, get in contact with Ricky, local expert in Stevenage, and he'll be happy to help. His details be on this page.
I'm flicking through YouTube and through Spotify. I don't think there's a podcast or a video channel on YouTube that landlords can land on where they're not being sold something.
I mean, it'd be the first time any estate agent's ever asked that question, but why not ask that question to a wider audience?
Estate agents have the knowledge there, but they don't seem to share it.
You can do different episodes based around someone that wants an exit plan or someone that's just starting their portfolio.
The rules change every year.
Yeah.
But why not just open the floor out and just say, well, is property even the best investment out there?
And tax advice is a big thing, especially with everything that's changed, capital gains tax, and obviously your stamp duty costs that you need to pay and whatnot. People don't realise what they need to prepare for.
We build a podcast and we build a YouTube channel, somewhere that landlords can go and they feel they're not being sold to, but they're just getting quality advice.
Right, Andy. Today, Ricky Veale, an estate agency. Oh bollocks! Start that again.